Okay, let's do this. For the record, I do not need this cup of coffee, but I want it because today is one of those days where the cold just gets straight down into your bones, and no matter how much you turn up the heat or how many layers you pile on, and right now I have 4, it just doesn't go anywhere. And that's actually a good metaphor for what I'm talking about today, which is other things that hit you right down to the marrow. So to begin, as always, I'm Liz. I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, I am codependent, and I live with other mental illnesses, ADHD, anxiety, bipolar 2 disorder, and complex PTSD, and I am in recovery from all of those things. And today I wanted to talk about something that's been very important to me, which is learning humility. And I'm going to do something that I never do in my writing, but I feel is appropriate here, which is to quote the definition of a word from something else to begin. So this is from what's called the 12 and 12. It's the 12 steps and 12 traditions. It's an Alcoholics Anonymous book, and I'll have a link to this quote. But it's from step 5, which is about admitting to your higher power. It says to God, but I don't do that word. To ourselves and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. So, it says, another great dividend we may expect from confiding our defects to another human being is humility, a word often misunderstood. And then this is the definition. To those who have made progress in AA, it amounts to a clear recognition of what and who we really are, followed by a sincere attempt to become what we could be. So, when I talk about humility, I'm talking about that, about recognizing where I am, recognizing where I want to be, and then taking steps to make it so. And I'm talking about that today in terms of finances and in terms of giving things up. So, one of the main reasons why I moved in with my mother was to give myself some security. She pays for the food around here. She helps me out a lot with money, which is something that I can deal with, but I don't like to dwell on. And in return, all I really have to do is focus on my recovery, work as much as I can to bring in money for myself so that one day she won't have to give me so much, and to just be a good roommate, to keep things tidy, to help out with things like dishes, keep my room in a state that's not a constant disaster zone, which if you know me, you know that that's my natural state, is a disaster zone if I'm working or living anywhere. So I've been doing my best with that, but today was kind of a reckoning in terms of where my money goes and how much of it is going out the window. So she called me from work and wanted to talk about things like automatic withdrawals from my bank account. So things like oh, well, what's this charge? Well, that's the monthly charge to keep my website up, and then that's the yearly charge for keeping my domain name active. Well, what's this one? This one is a monthly charge for a safety app where if I feel unsafe, I can open it, push the button on the screen, and hold it, and the local police station will send somebody to my location, and once I feel safe, I can let it go, and somebody will follow up with me to make sure that everything's okay. And that's called SafeTrek, by the way, and although I don't have it anymore, I would highly recommend it. Like, oh, what's this charge? That's iTunes. That's me being able to listen to music if I'm driving or if I'm at home. That's gone too. Probably gonna have to get Spotify, which I hate. But anyway, just kind of a rundown of what my monthly charges are. And there were a few that were really hard to give up, like SafeTrek. I like having that. It really lessens my feelings of anxiety, or anxiety associated with my trauma. I've been followed at night by somebody, and I'll post a link to my essay about that. It was incredibly scary. I wish I had had something like that then. All I had to do, or all I had at my fingertips at that moment, was the ability to scream for help. And I had to email the ACLU to cancel my membership, which I hate because I believe in the ACLU. And having that membership card meant a lot to me. But I can take that hit because giving to an organization like the ACLU when I don't have money and I'm overdrafting my bank account constantly because I don't have enough coming in, it just makes sense. And then one really big thing that I did not want to give up was my membership to Scribd. And Scribd, if you don't know what it is a website and an app where it's a subscription service. They have a bunch of books, audiobooks, articles, sheet music, all sorts of things. You pay something like $8 a month, and then you get 3 titles to read per month for that amount, and then they have a certain number of books that are unlimited, so you can read as many of those per month as you want. And that's been really helpful to me. That's where a lot of my reading comes from, so I don't have to buy books, so I don't have to go to like the iBookstore and buy things. I can get it from there, and only pay $8. Like I'm reading Codependent No More off of that app, and I can highlight things and bookmark things, and there's like a workbook that I can do, and it's so instead of buying it, like buying a physical book, I have it and it's downloaded either to my iPad or my phone, and I can work with it that way. But the thing about that is that if I don't have that money, and I don't have it, my mom had to give me money to get liquid for this, and to pay the past due balance on my cell phone, not even the current balance, just the past due. so that things would stay smooth and even. And that's a hard pill to swallow. To think like, I don't want to spend money on extravagances, like going out, ordering food for delivery, going to Starbucks, like anything that I could spend money on but isn't necessary. I won't, because I know where I'm at financially, and it's pretty much nowhere. But there are certain small kind of creature comforts, like being able to listen to music, having my playlists available to me, having an app that shows me that I'm safe, even if I never have to use it, and I never have. There was one time when I felt I might have to, but I didn't. And just having the ability to read what I want when I want. Those are hard things to give up for me, because it really shows, it's proof of how kind of financially destitute I am, and it makes me feel like lesser than I am. Because I'm willing to give up a lot of the big things, like getting my hair done. I do it myself instead. Going and seeing a movie. I will borrow somebody's Netflix password. So many other things I just won't do because I know I can't. But the little things that I was hanging on to were things that were important. And giving those up was a real lesson in humility. And so I'm referring back to that definition of humility being a self-awareness of where I am and where I want to be. And the truth about where I am is not fantastic. I mean, full transparency, my bank account balance is, I don't know if you can see it. You can't. $35.22. And that's because my mom helped me out and gave me some money. And that's not to be touched. It's supposed to be there in case some charge goes through. There's no savings. There's nothing. I do have some things I'm going to get paid for, but I don't know exactly when. And the truth is, recovery is a full-time job. It takes so much energy to try to learn how to be better, to study, because there are, questions to answer and things to think about, like about me and how these steps of AA really apply to my life and where I've been and where I'm going, and questions to answer. I have notebooks to fill with these things. And on top of that, I have work to do. But all of that's been taking a backseat to me trying to better myself and better my life. So that means, out of necessity, that I just don't have the financial resources that I once did. I want to. I'm working as hard as I can to make it happen, but it's not happening right now. So, in order to really move forward with my recovery, I have to be humble, and I have to recognize the truth about where I am. And if that means saying to myself, kid, you're broke. You can't afford these things. It's not fair of you to ask your mom to pay for these things when she's already providing you with a place to stay and food and transportation and so many other things. You can give up these little luxuries, even if they're your last little luxuries that you have, you can give them up. And that's what I've been dealing with today, is just this idea of not necessarily what bottom really is, but where I really am. And recognizing the severity of that, not that I'm in danger or homeless or, things aren't going to get paid for, whatever. Like, just knowing that financially I pretty much am off the grid. Like, I don't exist in terms of money right now. Then I can't pay for things. And if I can't pay for things, then those things need to not be a part of my life. And so with humility, I've pretty much canceled everything. And it's a loss. And it seems stupid. It seems petty to mourn the loss of things like a book subscription service or an ACLU membership or whatever, iTunes, but it is hard to hit that unsubscribe button and say, this is something you have to do. Not something you're choosing to do to save money because you feel like it, but something that you have to do. And I'm hoping that that feeling of humility brings me some character, because another thing that this book mentions is character building through suffering, although this is a minor form of suffering. So I suppose that this is the answer to my daily request of my higher power, that I learn something every day. Today, I've learned a lot about humility. And how to accept that without feeling bad about myself. Because I don't. And that's the funny thing. I thought that I would. I felt anxious. I felt uncomfortable. I feel sad. but I don't feel bad about me. And that's a step forward. That's something that I can say that I might even feel somewhat good about, is because I'm focusing so much on myself in my recovery, I have to give up some stuff right now. And that means that I'm caring about myself and caring for myself far more than I ever have in my life. And I'm proud of that. So I'm hoping that this humility that's resonating in my bones right now lasts. And I'm going to ask for that because it's an important lesson and one I didn't expect to learn, but one that I'm glad I did. So that's what I've got today.